01:17 local time, 6 Ukrainian surface drones are tearing through the dark water toward Russian warships guarding the Kerch Bridge, the vital link between Crimea and mainland Russia. Unknown to them, a Russian Ka-29 helicopter was sweeping its thermal sight across calm waters south of Cape Meganom. And the thermal operator was about to get one chance to find them before the entire night went sideways. The radar operator caught a return on the surface search radar at 12 kilometers and called it in. Possible contact, low confidence. The pilot turned inbound to investigate. Russian naval intelligence had been flagging USV, unmanned surface vessel, basically a robot speedboat with a warhead, activity on this corridor for a week, and the playbook was simple: chase any unconfirmed return for 3 legs before calling it junk. The pilot dropped through 1,200 feet, watching the thermal feed slew across the water for any sign of a wake. At this altitude, on this kind of a night, that thermal feed was the only sensor on the helo that was going to find anything stealthier than a fishing boat. 600 kilometers away in Odesa, the Ukrainian operator was watching this on his own screen in a dimly lit room full of monitors and cold coffee. The lead Maguras stern thermal camera had picked up the rotor disc against the cold sky 4 minutes earlier, and the helo had been getting brighter every sweep. He didn't wait. He slammed the throttle command from cruise to minimum way, and swarm speed dropped from 22 knots to 8 in the space of a breath. Engine output collapsed. The hull settled deeper into the water, and he cut the Starlink uplink to receive only. The drones now sat in the chop like driftwood, and the man controlling 6 of them across 600 kilometers of ocean was holding his breath sitting at a desk in Odesa. If you look here at what the operator just did, he cut the wake. And the wake is the only thing the Russian helo could actually see. When the Magura was moving, it churns up a hot ribbon of foamy water behind it, a few degrees warmer than the surrounding sea, courtesy of engine exhaust and surface friction. Think of it as a hot pan dragged across cold water. The pan itself is small, but the heat trail behind it is unmistakable to a thermal imager. And right now, the man at the console just took the pan off the stove. The Ka-29's thermal operator got one faint return on the gimbal, a ribbon of slightly warmer water that didn't quite match the wave pattern, and he called it. The Ka-29 Helix B, the assault variant of the Ka-27 Helix family, built to put Marine infantry onto enemy beaches. 20 meters long, 2 crew, max speed 270 kilometers per hour, combat radius around 460 kilometers, roughly Dallas to Houston, covered in under 2 hours. The Kona's 29 thermal imager in the chin turret, originally built to spot landing craft silhouettes against hot coastline, tonight it was hunting plastic boats in a cold chop. Different job, same camera. The pilot orbited for another sweep, but the wake had dissipated in the chop and he had nothing to lock onto. The crew debated the contact while the radar operator pushed for another pass. The pilot was watching fuel state and he committed to one more search leg. On day 17 of strikes against Crimea, you don't burn fuel chasing ghosts unless you have to. And right now, he wasn't sure if this was a ghost or not. He never got it. The squadron net came alive with traffic the pilot didn't want to hear. Clipped reports stacking on top of each other faster than the controller could route them. Sevastopol radar site getting hit. Pervomaisk ammunition depot under attack, Simferopol oil depot burning, and multiple air defense radars offline across the peninsula. The squadron commander pulled every helo he had inland, voice tied on the recall channel. All the helos were repositioning to a country that was suddenly on fire in 5 places at once. The Ka-29 pilot acknowledged the recall, climbed to transit altitude, and turned north toward Crimea. He was a competent professional doing exactly what his training said he should do. There were drones hitting half a dozen targets across Crimea right now, and he was the closest helo to half of them. In contact, the patrol box got logged as a negative, probably a false return. In Odesa, the operator watched the helo's thermal signature recede on the camera feed. 40 seconds later, he throttled the swarm back up to 22 knots, wakes reappearing in the now empty patrol box. If you look here at the strike map, those red icons across western Crimea aren't random Ukrainian aerial drone strikes. They were timed to pull every Russian air asset inland at the exact moment the Magura swarm needed an empty patrol box south of Crimea. Think of it as your wife sending you to 3 different stores for things she doesn't actually need, just so she has 2 hours alone to set up your surprise birthday party. You're doing real errands, solving real problems, and you're exactly where she wants you to be. The Magura swarm crossed the Cape Meganom line and pushed into the Strait approach. On the operator's secondary display, the bridge area lit up with fires blooming along both shores, missile launches lighting the sky from the towers. The plan was holding up until all 6 of his nav indicators went red at once. GPS lock, gone. Every drone in the same heartbeat. The Maguras had walked straight into Russia's jamming bubble around the Strait, and every GPS receiver in the swarm just went deaf at the same instant. With GPS gone, the drones flipped to inertial guidance. Inertial guidance is your phone's compass talking to your phone's accelerometer with no map underneath. It can tell you which way you turned and how fast, but it can't tell you where you are. It just remembers where you started and adds up every moment since. Hold a steady heading and a steady speed, and you can hold the road for a while. Eventually, you'll drift, but the question is how far before you arrive. The controller in Odesa could abort and try to run them around, but the FP1 wave was already over the bridge. The Panzer towers wouldn't stay distracted for long. He pushed the drones forward and committed everything from here on to inertial guidance and luck. Inertial drift creeps in at a few hundred meters per hour, which over 30 clicks of running blind is an acceptable miss. Tonight, that math has to work for 30 kilometers in pitch black through a maze of underwater obstacles. And a Russian air defense planner on Tuzla Island is running the exact same cone calculation in reverse. The Magura swarm entered the barrier field. EO cameras lit up with tetrapod tops poking above the surface and barge silhouettes against the night sky. Parallel anti-drone bridges arced overhead like a steel ceiling between the drones and the open sky. Now look here at what's in the water. Russia has spent 3 years building the most defended maritime corridor on Earth. Sunken barges in 2 parallel rows, anti-USV nets, submerged tetrapods, metal hedgehogs, and parallel anti-drone bridges with gating built alongside the main span. None of it forms a continuous wall, because the Kerch Strait is a busy commercial waterway and there have to be gaps. It's a chain-link fence that has to leave room for the gate every 20 feet. The fence works, the gate is the problem. Russia knows where the gates are. Ukraine knows where the gates are too. It's like putting 5 deadbolts on your front door and leaving the garage door open because your wife keeps forgetting the code. And the drones have preloaded route through those gates, with waypoints loaded into onboard memory before launch, threading the maze. The drones threaded the gaps 1 waypoint at a time, 5-meter clearances on either side. No GPS, no second chances if the inertial drift was off by more than the planners had calculated. On Tuzla Island, a Russian air defense planner watched the tactical display in a command vehicle with tonight's drift cone already worked out. The screen glow lit the sweat on his face. Wind southwest at 8 knots, current 0.4 knots eastbound, and expected drift over 30 clicks of running blind came to roughly 240 meters off course. He had the entry corridor mapped to a half-mile box on the south side of the bridge, and he had already given the order. He'd been running this math for a year. Tonight, he was finally going to find out if the math was right. Pay attention to what the Russian planners are doing here. They've reduced the entire problem of finding stealthy USVs at night to a math problem. Inertial drift is predictable if you know the wind, the current, and the runtime, and the Russians know all 3. They can narrow the swarm's likely position by the time it reaches the bridge to a half-mile box, which is small enough that FPV drone operators with terminal scopes can cover it. Russian Black Sea Fleet FPV teams have been training to attack Maguras for over a year, and the catch has always been night detection. They can't watch the whole horizon. Imagine knowing a deer is going to walk through one specific clearing at one specific time. You don't have to hunt the whole forest. You just sit in the clearing and wait. The FPV teams were already in position along the expected approach lane, on Tuzla Island, on Cape Fanar to the west, on Cape Tequil to the south, and on board the patrol boats themselves. Thermal scopes warm, drones armed, all 6 operators scanning their slice of the horizon for the first wake to break the dark water. If the planner's drift cone was right, the swarm was about to walk straight into the trap. If it was wrong, every FPV operator was hunting empty water while 6 drones got past them. The lead Magura's wake appeared in the predicted box at 02:14 local time. 3 Russian operators caught the wakes within seconds of each other, and 3 FPV drones rocketed off launch racks and slammed across the strait at 120 kilometers per hour. The pilots were tracking the wake on thermal feed, with not one of them able to see it with the naked eye. Back in Odesa, the controller saw the FPV signatures bloom onto his EO feed seconds before contact. His hands ripped the front drone hard left while he was screaming evasive commands into the swarm net. One FPV slammed into the lead Magura at the bow. 320 kilograms of shaped charge erupted in a fireball that whited out 2 kilometers of Strait for 2 full seconds. What just hit it? A Russian Black Sea Fleet FPV drone. A quadcopter the size of a dinner plate carrying about 1 kilogram of shaped charge. Top speed 140 kilometers per hour, range 8 kilometers. Total parts cost around $500. Built in a garage outside Sevastopol from Chinese motors, a thermal camera, and a Russian 3D printed frame. The pilot flies it like a video game from a console 2 kilometers away. No radar, no guidance computer, no targeting pod. Just a man with goggles, a joystick, and a thermal feed. On Tuzla Island, a Russian operator finally exhaled. The lead Magura was gone. 5 drones left, 28 kilometers to the boats, and Russians knew exactly where to look now. The operator in Odesa watched the count on his console drop from 6 to 5. Then he started doing the math on what 5 drones could still accomplish if 4 of them got through. The 5 surviving Maguras burst to top speed at 42 knots and abandoned the preloaded waypoint route entirely. Each drone's operator took manual control, hands on the joysticks at 5 separate consoles in Odesa. Course changes coming every few seconds. The FPV operators on Tuzla and the shore lost their terminal locks in the chop almost immediately. 2 more FPV drones launched but went ballistic and couldn't reacquire any of the wakes. The Russians had 1 box, and the drones weren't in the box anymore. 5 warheads were running an open lane at the boats with no one tracking them. Now they switched from inertial to electro-optical and thermal terminal homing, and the EO seekers scanned for the diesel exhaust plumes of the patrol boats. Both targets bloomed on thermal. The Sobol on the outer perimeter, the Grachonok on the inner. The swarm split, with 2 on the Sobol and 3 on the Grachonok. If you look here at the Strait from the surviving Magura's EO feed, you'll see something that shouldn't be there: silence. When USVs come into the Strait, the Russian playbook calls for layered shore fire. Coastal 30mm autocannons on Cape Fanar and Cape Tequil. Zu-23-2 twin guns on the weaponized guard barges, and heavy machine guns at fixed positions, all opening up at once from multiple angles. The wall of fire was supposed to pick up anything that survived the FPV ambush. 4 kilometers of overlapping range and enough volume to drown any swarm in lead. Tonight, half of those positions are smoking craters. The other half are silent because their crews fled, their guns are damaged, or the smoke generators that should be screening the bridge supports are offline due to the drone swarm. Same thing as walking into a room expecting an ambush of 10 guys with shotguns and instead finding 2 guys with handguns, both of whom didn't expect to be alone. The Maguras weren't supposed to make it this far. Now there's nothing between them and the boats but 2 tired patrol crews and 1 machine gun each. 5 drones now ran an open lane straight at the patrol boats. The Sobol's lookout called it first. Wakes inbound, multiple bearings. Hoist tied on the bridge intercom. The captain ordered the 14.5mm gun mount manned as the Sobol turned to face them and accelerated to 50 knots, the bow lifting hard against the chop. The gunner on the bow mount had been training for this for a year. Russian Black Sea Fleet had been running anti-Magura drills every week since things first showed up. He knew the silhouette, the speed, the engagement window. 6 seconds to identify, 2 seconds to acquire, 60 seconds to neutralize the target. He had 1 weapon. If even 1 Magura got past him, 320 kilos of shaped charge would punch straight through the Sobol's aluminum hull. Tracer round streak from the Sobol's 14.5mm and the lead inbound Magura jinked hard, sending the tracers walking past it across the dark water. He corrected and laid the next burst, and the Magura jinked the other way. 6 seconds gone, 54 left, 2 drones, 1 gun. Here's what's going on with the Sobol's gunner. He's working a problem that physics is going to win. A 14.5mm KP-VT machine gun has roughly 1.5 kilometers of useful range against a fast, low-profile surface target at night. The Magura is doing 42 knots and changing course every 2 seconds. The boat is moving, the man on the mount is moving, and the target is moving. 3 things moving at once: manual aim, no fire control, and hit chance against a jinking 1.6-foot waterline target at 1 kilometer in the chop is single digits per burst. 2 Maguras inbound from the Sobol from 2 directions means he can shoot 1 at a time. While he's tracking the closer one, the other one is closing on him unengaged. It's like trying to swat 2 flies with 1 hand. Even if you're good, you only get 1. The other one is still coming, and it doesn't care whether you got the first one or not. He picked up the closer Magura and walked tracers across its bow. The other Maguras slipped past at 200 meters off the beam, snapped in hard, and slammed into the hull. 320 kilograms of shaped charge against a 57-ton aluminum boat. The Sobol split apart in a wall of orange flame that turned night into noon over half a kilometer of Strait and showered fragments into the water. The man on the bow mount did everything right, and his ship was finished anyway. The Grachonok captain saw the flash from across the strait, and 3 Maguras were now closing in on him. The sonar was green and his grenade launcher was loaded, and none of it was going to matter. The Grachonok itself, Project 21980 anti-saboteur boat, 138 tons, 31 meters of welded steel hull, 23-knot top speed, crew of 8. Unit cost roughly $20 million, the kind of price tag that buys you a Manhattan penthouse with a view. Every system on board was designed to stop enemy swimmers. Tonight, it was fighting boats. He firewalled the throttle and broke right. 23 knots, faster than the boat would ever go again, slower than the Maguras coming for him. Here's the part the Russian Navy spent a decade getting wrong. Every weapon on the Grachonok was built to fight a war that never showed up. The DP-65 grenade launcher, designed to attack enemy swimmers. The bow sonar, designed to find mini-subs. The Igla rack, designed to swat helicopters carrying SEAL-style assault teams. The Russian Navy commissioned 4 of these specifically to defend the Crimean Bridge. Then ordered more after the Maguras started showing up in 2024, then armored the bridge, then trained crews for 3 years on saboteur attack scenarios. They prepared for the wrong war. There were no combat divers tonight, no mini-subs, no torpedoes, no frogmen swimming up the pylons with limpet mines. Just 6 plastic boats the size of jet skis running flat out in the dark, controlled by a man at a desk 600 kilometers away. Russia had built the world's most expensive answer to a question Ukraine had decided not to ask. The captain could call for the Panzer to engage and pray they could transition in time, or he could keep running. He kept running. He ordered the bow sonar deployed, and the display showed a clean underwater picture. Empty. The threat wasn't underwater, but a 10-barrel weapon on the foredeck was already pivoting toward the closing Maguras with a high technical whine. The gunner fired, and rocket-propelled grenades streaked out and splashed into the water around the closest drone in rapid succession. Fountains of spray erupted with underwater detonations that shook the deck plates of the Grachonok itself. The Magura kept coming because the captain's best anti-USV weapon was firing into a layer of ocean the threat wasn't in. Look at what just fired into the water. That's a DP-65, 10 barrels, 55mm rocket grenades. Russia built it for one job, and that job is not what just happened. The launcher fires RG-55M rounds, which are miniature depth charges with rocket motors. They're designed to hit the water, sink to a preset depth, and detonate near combat swimmers or mini-subs with about 500 meters of reach underwater. You can technically fire it at surface targets, but the warhead is built for underwater shock. But the rockets aren't guided, and the spread is all over the place. Think of it as throwing fishing weights at a speedboat. Yes, technically you can, but the weights are designed to sink. The boat is on top of the water, and you're bringing a tackle box to a gunfight. The Grachonok's 14.5mm gunner opened up, and tracer streams arced into the dark, the hammering of the gun shaking in the foredeck. The first Magura jinked off the beam, and the second was already inside 500 meters of the port quarter. Too close, too fast. No second burst was going to catch it. If you look up here, above the bridge at the towers that have been firing all night, that's a Panzer S-1M, Russia's mobile short-range air defense. It's the only thing that could save the Grachonok right now, and it isn't going to. The Panzer S-1M is the bridge's only true point defense. Phased array search radar, fire control tracker, 12 missiles per launcher, plus twin 30mm autocannons that can shred a target a kilometer out at 5,000 rounds per minute. The towers have been busy lighting up the FP1 wave for the past 30 minutes. 2 of the 3 are dry on missiles, and the third one has just 4 left, and the crew is still chasing inbound drones with the radar. To shoot at the boats now, the crew has to break off the air fight and slew the radar 180 degrees from up and northwest to down and south. Then drop the elevation cone and reacquire low, fast-moving boats the system was never trained to fight. That kind of mode switch is measured in tens of seconds, not the few seconds the Panzer crew has. The Maguras are right on top of them, and the switch is too slow. If the Panzer crew started the transition the moment the FPV ambush misfired, they would be ready right now. They didn't. The Panzer crew watches the wakes through the optical sight, knowing they can't shoot in time, knowing they're already too late. Think of it as spending all night swatting mosquitoes on the porch, then looking down and realizing a raccoon has been in your trash cans the whole time, and your hands are still up by your ears. The third tower's radar finally locked onto a clean surface track. The fire control computer churned, and the 30mm autocannon snapped around to traverse. 20 seconds into a 30-second transition with the Magura already inside terminal range. The second Magura detonated against the Grachonok stern quarter, the full warhead, 320 kilos, hammered into the engine room. What just punched through the Grachonok? The Magura V5. 5.5 meters of low-profile fiberglass, riding a 450 horsepower outboard, top speed 42 knots, range 800 kilometers. Roughly the drive from Chicago to Nashville, covered by a robot. 320 kilogram shaped charged warhead in the bow. Starlink-fed remote operation. Unit cost $273,000. What a Lexus dealer charges for a used SUV. And the 138-ton steel hull split open from the impact with a crack that hammered across the Strait. Fuel erupted in a column of flame that punched 20 meters into the night sky. The boat shuddered hard, took water through the breach, and burned. If you enjoyed this video, watch our other video on how Ukraine took down this other Russian ship. Bye for now.